John Cassioppo. I'm the director of Arete and the director of the Center for Cognitive and Social Neuroscience at the University of Chicago.
I'm Matthew Christian, also director of Arete, and I'm the administrative director of the Center for Cognitive and Social Neuroscience.
I'm Ken Olive. I'm one of the co-leaders of the Arete Initiative, and I am the director for Strategic Foundation Initiatives at the University of Chicago. And in Greek, Arete means excellence, and I think we had in mind that the University of Chicago has tremendous intellectual resources that are being tapped, but there's the potential to do more.
We thought that that characterized really what we're trying to do at the University of Chicago with this program, and it is to create an infrastructure for scientific research appropriate for 21st century science, to allow teams of scholars to work collaboratively to address important questions in ways that have not been possible in the past.
And Arete captures the ancient Greek notion of science in the broadest sense, where geneticists and classicists, where biologists and historians work together on big, complicated scientific problems. It doesn't limit it to a single discipline.
The three of us began working together about 5 years ago when we put together a massively interdisciplinary research network here at the University of Chicago that extended beyond the borders of the campus and included people at other institutions and including other countries. We found that to be a remarkable group, and we were able to address questions we were unable to as individual scientists. We also helped individuals, members of the network, develop their own interdisciplinary groups and found the investigators faced obstacles when they went across divisions and institutions that they were not well prepared to deal with. And having solved some of those issues, we found the infrastructure we had developed to be useful to other investigators. That led to a conversation between the three of us and President Zimmer, Provost Rosenbaum, and Vice President Levy. And we decided collectively to see if this would work at a campus level.
Well, last year we started 32 projects. 15 of those stayed in development, which means that we got faculty groups together, but they didn't actually necessarily go all the way to a proposal. 17 reached proposal stage and were submitted to various agencies. We had 155 faculty members involved last year, 40 different departments in the university, and overall, I think that there were some really great synergies that came out of that, some really exciting new projects.
And one of the major purposes of Arete is to allow the university to be responsive to the interest of various funding agencies when they're trying to tackle complex problems.
Last year's total portfolio from in development through funded, not funded, if you take everything, we're talking about $160 million in projects total. Obviously, not every project gets funded or funded all the way, but it's really not a dollar-driven enterprise. It's an idea-driven enterprise. So we're interested in what faculty's questions are and trying to be responsive to the questions of outside interests as well to see if we can harness the intellectual resources of the university in meaningful ways.
I think that's one of the important features of Arete is that we focus on important questions. We want to ask big questions and bring comprehensive scientific teams to bear on that question so we can provide more complete answers.
The purpose of Arete is to harness the university's intellectual resources to tackle some of the most challenging problems we face today. One of those challenging problems, of course, is climate change and how we, as a world, as a society, are going to make decisions that will allow us to tackle this challenge. Major decisions are being made today in terms of where we will go, and yet the tools that are available to policymakers are really inadequate to the tasks that we face. So one of our projects has been a team of scientists and scholars who are developing the next generation of modeling tools in order to be able to run simulations of climate change and its interaction with human behavior and energy use, to be able to see if a given policy is implemented, what will be the long-term implications of that policy, including the unintended consequences. So that project brings together economists, computationalists, climate scientists, using supercomputing power that is available through Argonne National Lab.
One of Arete's big questions is around poverty alleviation, and using really a very University of Chicago approach, which is to delve into critical long-term data from a variety of places. So 2 projects we've really worked on in the past couple of years are around enterprise development. So how do family-based enterprises worldwide contribute to wealth creation? And another one is about savings and other financial services that support especially the very poor in developing countries. And those 2 projects really delve into data collected in Thailand, Mexico, places in Africa, really trying to understand what is it that creates wealth over the long term for small enterprises and could, in turn, alleviate poverty over the long term.
We've learned a great deal in the past couple of years running the Arete Initiative. One of the things we've learned is that the University of Chicago is the ideal place to run such an initiative. The whole purpose of Arete is to move from the level of interdisciplinary that's currently being exercised in science. Increasingly, we have big team science that's multidisciplinary and multi-institutional. But you can see where we're going. 50 years ago, the solitary geniuses were doing the most impactful research. Now it's these big teams. But these teams are still somewhat limited in that the disciplinary bases are proximal. They're close to one another. One of the things Arete is doing is bringing together broader array of scientists and scholars to address these problems. And that's a direction which science seems to be moving in any case. And so this faculty at the University of Chicago is very talented. As Ken alluded to, the intellectual resources here are as good or better than any place in the world. And we're trying to help that faculty jumpstart their own ideas with more and more resources, both faculty expertise and the infrastructure to make their proposals a reality. At the University of Chicago, the faculty care more about the question than they do anything else. And so we have found this to be a wonderful setting to bring these very different experts together and then to find them become really intrigued by the question and just see the dynamics emerge from there. In the beginning of the 20th century, the University of Chicago set the stage for how institutions of higher education did their work. We set the script for how you do graduate education. Now, by the middle of the 20th century, other institutions have caught up, and the great state universities were turning out more PhDs than the University of Chicago. One of the things Arete is trying to do is to put the University of Chicago, again, as one of the leaders in what research means at institutions of higher education, transforming the experience and opportunities here at the University of Chicago, providing better and more complete answers, and setting an example that other institutions will ultimately follow.